Hello and welcome. This is Kristen from the Online Selling Show, and I'm here again with another special episode because it's funny, the more you start getting involved in this reselling world and you're out in the thrifting is what I'm calling it, which would be anything from flea markets to thrift stores to yard sales, estate sales, sometimes even retail arbitrage. It's amazing when you can open your mind up to how these types of things can benefit many areas of your life. And I know for me, one of the things that's been really evolving over the past couple of months, some of it I was very diligent about when I was first doing this as a mother of a young child. I was using the yard sales then as my only source of way to get product. And back then I was using it a lot, and I mean a lot, for his clothing. I was buying so much of it brand new with tags. I would buy most of these things for about 50 cents. At the time, we're going back anywhere from about 18 years-ish to maybe give or take some years in there. I would get these goods, he would wear them, he would straddle 2 years, so he would come into the season wearing one size and then leave the season wearing the next size. So I would have to hold on to them, but I was able to get his clothing sourced through these secondary methods, like I said, mainly yard sales, and then I would group them up and sell them and make money at it. So in other words, that was one way I was sourcing back then, where it made me money. It was actually making me money to clothe my child. I then got into retail arbitrage, and I was blending in the retail arbitrage with the yard sale stuff and still coming out to make money. It also showed me what was some of the more desirable pieces. So I did start selling some of that's how I kind of got into the retail arbitrage, was seeing what was desirable that I wanted for him and what was selling, and the retail prices were still going on the internet. That was amazing to me, and how I incorporated my retail arbitrage into my personal life because I was being able to do it for him. I did the same thing with toys, where I would be buying toys. He would play for them with a period of time, get kind of bored with them, and we would sell them. A lot of things like the Fisher-Price Little People, we would be out and he would want the extra people to add to the sets. When that happened and I would resell, because I was able to pick up little lots for $1 with like 12 people, when his sets went, I always got way more because I had a lot more other, let's say, animals or whatever it was. That was beneficial. The other thing in that period of time that happened for me is things for my family that, like, my mother needed like mixing bowls for, or something to that I was able to always pick. There was things as he was growing that I needed, let's say a bike for my house. I would be able to pick up a bike for her to keep at his house. Things like that, where I was able to pick up that other things because she was babysitting and she was far enough away that I wasn't going to transport this bike back and forth. That's how this whole endeavor got started, was me just buying stuff when I was pregnant to have at her house, like the high chair and the swing and all those strollers and stuff. Then one of the other things that evolved out of that was charitable. I was getting a lot of my sister being involved, working at a vet's office and stuff. I was starting to learn how she needed things like blankets and towels and the carriers for the animals, because a lot of people were wanting to do like adoptions and stuff, but they would show up not realizing they needed things like a carrier to take the animal home with, or if I found anything that was great for like feeding bowl. So I was able to do a lot through charitable actions by doing that. Another thing was, when my son was at the preschool, there was kids there that really had nothing. The teachers would have some stash on hand of, let's say, jeans and sweaters or jackets, because these kids would come, they would, have an accident, or it would get cold and they didn't have a coat. I was able to give things like that to these teachers from, preschool through elementary school, after school programs. One of the first things I learned about was that they didn't have a budget that carried them, because they were not considered the school, they were the after school program, and they had the same problem where they may have like the Fisher-Price sets for the kids to play with, but the kids were taking home the animals and the, fence and all that other accessory pieces. I was able to start picking those up and giving them to the after school program. They needed things like construction paper and scissors or whatever. Maybe I would find that stuff constantly out yard selling. I just donated it when I would see it. Also, there was a lot of times where I could do things like we would do things at work where we were doing, it was somebody's birthday and I would make the cake. I would just make the cake. I was picking up like the cake taker Tupperware things for like $1 so that that person could just take them home. And I would just tell them, you know what, keep the carrier if you want. If you don't remember, it's not a problem. And they knew that plate, whatever it was, if they didn't want to be bothered bringing it back, that they could either keep it, donate it. I didn't care because I only paid $1. When he was young, there was times I was finding brand new sealed packages of diapers. Some people may think that's like, ew, but I mean, they were sealed, brand new packs. Sometimes they weren't even his size. I could take them and exchange them for the size he did need. And you may again say like, ew, but you knew. If you don't go to these sales and know when somebody is a clean household, all I gotta say is keep shopping. You'll learn it real fast. So I would know, especially when they got a kid running around, it's like my kid's age, and maybe they're potty trained now or something. I mean, you just knew, okay? Trust me. And if you've seen me, I'm a princess. I've said this before. No, I'm not just taking anybody's stuff. Then now today, where am I today? You know, I've been picking up some things for myself that was basically home decor stuff. I am a big girl. I've said this before. I'm not finding clothes in my size. As big girls generally wear our stuff out. So I'm not really finding that. I'm very particular about the shoes because of the injuries on my leg. I'm not really buying that, where like years ago, I would necessarily like pick up like snow boots or something like that. When again, you knew nobody really wore them. But for me, I got in this past year, me and my friend, she got me watching that QVC gift wrapping challenge. If you have any interest, you need to check it out. So I'm going to tell you, oh my God, I was so addicted to that. And I watch zero TV. I mean, like negative TV, if there was such a thing. And I'm now into this gift wrapping challenge stuff. I really had to elevate my gift wrapping this year. There was times I talked about how phenomenal the gift wrap was at Home Goods. So for me, this upcoming year, one of the things I know I want to look for is that things that I know I can add to packages. And I'm not one of the people that likes to just be like wasteful about stuff. So I do plan on looking for, let's say, like the Hallmark ornaments or something to that degree that will kind of match in with the ribbons and the papers that I have. So you will be seeing some of that. One of the things I do possibly want to get into is doing some craft classes. So I know I want to get into, there's tons of ribbon out there I know I can find and pick up. I'm not buying their pre-made bows. I like stuff, I'm like over that now. So I don't plan on picking up that stuff. But any of the stuff that I think I can cut up, kind of do for a craft, I have some ideas craft-wise of some things that I'm thinking I want to possibly create and use and put up like on an Etsy channel. So there are things for that. I do really want to get back to doing some charitable stuff, like I said, for the cat whisperer. I don't know, I think we've talked about that before. So there's a lot of cat charities that I know could use the towels, the sheets, the carrier, that type of thing. And there's just different connections I've made. I've let people know sometimes when there's estate sales and they have food left over, like make sure you're using the food bag. Just sometimes you being that conduit or that type of idea to put in some people's head. I mean, the professional estate sale people would know that, but you do have the yard sales where you can tell that they are clearing out, and there may be an overwhelm mode. There's been times when their prices were too expensive for their towels and sheets and stuff, and I've just let them know that usually your local vet's office or shelters would very much appreciate getting those things. And again, when they have to clean out a whole house, I think, especially when it's a loved one, they would rather the goods go someplace that is of some meaning, especially if the person was an animal lover or something. They would really like to do that, and they don't always remember or know that. And some of the other, I plan on just becoming as efficient and elevating the amount of stuff I sell, prices that are higher if need be, to make sure I'm getting high quality stuff. But I definitely want the balance to be in there. Not fighting, where I'm saying that from, but figuring out how it's going to fit in for some of the other things that I have. I know, looking at some different areas of crafting and stuff right now, that there is some stuff that I could very easily, should I give myself the time and creative space to do it, I could take some stuff and really not put a ton of effort into it and be able to resell it out there in the world. So that is the effort I plan to make in this upcoming year with my sourcing. I don't know how much I'm going to be out there trying to get into learning new aspects like the clothing. I was doing it before. I think the more I'm around it and surrounded with it, I'm going to just through osmosis start learning it. I have to be open for that, and that's what my plan is for what you're going to see in the shopping videos coming up. I apologize again if you're out there and I'm doing the shopping videos and you're looking at it like, I don't get why she's looking through these towels. That may be why. So I'm going to say bye for now. I'll catch you on the next one. I was just watching the replay and I realized there was a whole section that I had meant to touch on and I didn't. And that was like, I would be out and find a lot of brand new nice kids, like giftable toys type of stuff that were brand new in the package, very reasonably cheap, and I would pick them up. One, I would pick them up because at the time, from the age of like 3 till about 6, 7-ish, especially, he was getting invites for parties, sometimes twice in a weekend. He would be at a party. There would be 3 or 4 in a month, and it was getting to be very expensive. And I would pick this stuff up, and then I would let him shop out of the spare bedroom closet, out of what I picked up, to give as gifts. Obviously, if it was somebody he was very close with, the best friend kind of one, I'm sure that they had already talked about like what they wanted. But for most of them, when I would ask him, he had no idea like what these kids wanted. So I would just tell him to buy out of the back closet, basically. And at the same time, because I'm out there with all these people that have kids and stuff, they'd have all the wrapping paper that was age appropriate, or the cartoon characters that they wanted. So I would pick up wrapping paper so cheap. I was buying tons of the gifts he would give so cheap. And I'm talking about stuff that like didn't have like ripped up packaging. No, I'm talking like brand, you know what brand new stuff was. And I would pick up anything like that, because the other thing I was doing was, we had a lot of, like, in our area, the charities that would put the kids' names on the tree, or toy drives at school and type things like that, where I would just go and send all of these things in. If it was an organization where like the names were on the tree, I would just bring my stuff and put a Post-it note and say, I didn't take a name, I'm just leaving this for you. Because I've also learned that a lot of times they would find out about families, like after they put the kids' names up on the tree, they would find out about a family, or I guess at times they were having people take names and then just never brought anything back for that kid. So these organizations were always thankful to get additional stuff than what they had put out there for. Or like I said, at his school, they would just do toy drives, and they didn't know who was bringing what anyway, so we would just bring it in there. That was a great way to help in my family budget, was by buying that stuff. The other thing I know around me is there's a battered women's shelter, and they were doing a lot of drives for getting like hygiene kind of stuff for people that were homeless. Sometimes they do coat drives or hat and mitten drives, and I would find that stuff a lot when I would be out yard sailing. So those are other things that you could also be using in your charitable endeavors. I hope this also gives you some ideas as to what could be sourced when you're out. And I want to say thanks again for watching.